Hello and welcome to What Moves Us Express,
Or alternatively, what doesn't move us?
a daily podcast throughout this disrupted season
Brought to you from sunny Brighton and
at Nine Elms in London. Hi Johannah, it's been a while,
Yeah, it's been a while. How long has it been?
at least a few weeks. Yes, we've been busy.
Doesn't time fly when you're having fun? When you're in lockdown?
Well, we're not quite full lockdown anymore because we can go out as much as you like.
But of course, you've been naughty going out anyway, haven't you?
To the park at the end of the road.
Didn't
I'm
you
going to
do?
mow the lawn and plant the plants and make it nice for the neighbours when they're.
Didn't you do a little foray to a certain tourist or normally tourist hotspot, beginning with no, not Pentonville Road,
Portobello Road.
Portobello Road. That's the one.
And
on a nice sunny weekend.
yes, very nice walking around central London without the commuters and tourists.
Yeah. Well, you can do that on Christmas Day.
I'm always in the US for Christmas.
You should stay 1 year. You might have to this year.
Yeah, it's true. Right, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about our new research project that we're just about to kick off.
Called Rail in the 2020s.
Embracing the future of mobility.
Yes. Which we need to be now because the government has advanced the trial of micromobility to next month, not next year.
But I think it's wider than that, though, isn't it? Just about micromobility, because I think because we've been thinking about this research project a long time, and it's and sort of like, what does it mean for us, particularly in terms of the railway, because there's been a lot of talk about a new normal and getting back to normal. And I have to say, I was thinking about this earlier because I do dislike the word normal.
Right.
And I think I can thank.
It doesn't surprise me you have a problem with the word normal.
I do. Well, you see, what it is, I remember at school, and sort of I don't know, I can't remember which teacher it was, whether it was the English teacher or whether it was the RE teacher. It sounds like it might have been an RE thing, about talking about what does it mean to be normal, because I think we were talking in the context of people with disabilities, and obviously I'm a child of the 70s, and language wasn't very politically correct, and we used to talk about people being normal and not normal. Right. And so I think because of that, I've never really, in the context of what's normal, I've never really liked the word normal, because what's normal? Because it's normal for me, and everybody has a different sense of normality. So actually, in some ways, when you talk about society and organisations and that, it's not normal at all. It's just practice or culture or something. It's not normality, because normality is personal.
Deep words for a Thursday afternoon.
But I think, and that's where it gets me sort of like in context of this, because of our research project, in terms of us thinking about what the future holds. And I think that's why it's important to talk about the future and new models, because you can't go back. January, February 2019, whatever you want to call it, it's in the past. You can't go back to it. You have to go to the future. And I think we have to start thinking about that, because I think a lot of people would say that what was in the past was not necessarily good. And so we have to find a better way and a new way of doing things. Right. It's not about normality.
So how is our research project helping that? What are we asking people? Oh,
so
survey.
What are we asking people? So what our thoughts are is that we're going to start the debate, I think, or start the discussion on what that future could look like. So we're looking to, as Rail Innovation Group, we're looking to publish a thought piece on what that future could look like. We're looking for contributions from our community and also from other interested people within the transport, the supply chain. Who else are we interested in hearing from?
We are interested in hearing from anyone really who's got some sort of connection to rail. Yeah.
Yep. And I think it's important as well is that whilst we particularly have a rail focus, some of the problems that we have had, and not even necessarily some of the problems that we've had, but some of the areas that we have been quite passionate about in terms of implementing technology and developing the new model of mobility as a service, and that now is actually an opportunity to do it, isn't it? So what we want to ask is, do other people think it is, and how difficult will it be to get there?
Yeah, now is an exceptional time because some emergency measures in place can help us make that transformation. For example, the streetscape changes that are being done to provide walking and cycling space in city centres is having an impact on urban mobility, how people get to work. Oh, Deb's just joining us. What are we going to ask her as soon as she logs in? She's connecting. There she is. Hi, Deb.
Hello. I can't hear you anymore. Hello. Sorry, I'm late.
We started you. Is that a word? Pod bombing.
Pod bombing. Yes, we started. So
we have started.
Pod bombed, have I? Excellent.
Can we have that as a new term?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see why not.
Sure. Deb, you've just joined us.
Hello.
Johannah and I were in a discussion about our thought piece, and we're talking about how is the moment a good opportunity? Sorry, is this the right moment to be considering a different type of mobility in future, given that we have so many sort of emergency measures in place? We have streetscape changes, we have train operating franchises effectively suspended. We're about to build HS2, or we are building it. So what are your thoughts on, is this the right time to make change?
Yes, it's always a good time to make change, I think. And I think now is the great time to sort of rethink some of the ways that we do things. And that is, I'm talking about right from the kind of, how do you build a business case? Obviously thinking about now, the government sort of encouraging people to not use public transport at the moment because of the virus. So obviously, passenger numbers down, unsure about when those passenger numbers are going to come back up and that kind of thing. So, in that sense, it's quite a useful time to look at the bigger sustainability arguments around public transport and transport generally, and use them as a way of making a new framework for building a business case. I would suggest that might be a good idea, so that we can sort of take into consideration some of the social benefits and the environmental benefits that that transport projects can have, and rather than just looking at numbers. The COVID virus has been interesting because there's been certain sort of, in transport anyway, certain projects that have happened that have no economic benefit whatsoever, but that are being done purely on a community benefit basis. And that's actually quite interesting, isn't it, from us transport people that kind of always look at a very strict kind of business case scenarios. Are there enough passengers? Can we make the business case for this, whatever it might be? So perhaps we are in a completely new paradigm where there's going to be things like community benefit that are going to have to be built into the mixture. Might sound all a bit utopian, but
if you want to keep if you want to keep the transport network, or the public transport network, I guess you have to move to that type of model, don't you? Because at the moment there are insufficient passengers to provide that revenue cost benefit analysis.
Well, yeah, and you know, if you look at the sort of, I mean, look at the message again, you know, that the government's saying, like, walk to work if you can, cycle to work if you can. Well, how many people can actually do that? And that's, you know, that's because, let's face it, most people don't work near where they live, you know, so they don't, you know, but there is an argument then to say, well, okay, you know, especially for HS2, longer distance journeys are still very viable, because you could perhaps do more long distance journeys. Perhaps people will end up doing more long distance travel to work, but less of it, kind of thing, you know. So people might be moving around, might be considering living in different places that are further away from work even.
Johannah was just telling me about looking at a house on the Western Isles.
Wow, there you go then, you see. That's a long walk.
But I guess that's one of the things that's the danger for public transport is that we all get used to this remote working, and we quite like it.
We do, yeah, we do like it. But then I suppose you've always got to remember the fact that actually I can't remember what the stats are. I should remember, but you know, I should remember lots of things. But like, there's more leisure, there's much more rail journeys taken on for leisure than there is for commuting. Like, commuting is not the biggest story of transport, certainly of the rail sector. So, you know, I'm not saying it's completely, you know, it's not part of the picture, of course it is, but you know, it will, another thing it hopefully will do is force us to look at ticketing in a different way, because people will want to travel differently. I think it might mean that they may not travel less, they might travel less. I mean, I don't necessarily think that's particularly a problem, but they will travel differently, and they will certainly need more flexible tickets to be able to do that. I would think.
Well, especially if we're going to influence, or we're going to guide people on and off different services based on social distancing.
Yes, exactly. I mean, trains should be in a good position. You know, they should be well placed to be able to accommodate social distancing, because of course you can just put more trains on, so people can have more room if there's more carriages, you know, or things like that. I know there's obviously, I totally get that there are problems around that, and you can't just make trains, you know, twice as long as they were, but you know, you can do that. You can look at service patterns, and you can look at all of that. That's what's probably going to have to be done. It's going to be a great big,
I guess that's probably another big thing though that has to happen, isn't it? Cooperation. You can't have individual companies working for their own individual interests, because you might have to shift rolling stock around the country according to where you need it for capacity. If you think, you think of something like, if we all got to go on holiday in the UK this year, how do you provide the extra capacity for people going to the seaside? Could we see a return of the old British Rail specials that you'd book to go to that particular destination?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is interesting that you bring up fares, because and season tickets and all that, because probably that is probably one of the biggest opportunities for reform, isn't it? Because previously and linked to the business case, there's been reluctance from DfT and Treasury to reform fares because of the implications for the financial model. And what that would mean for revenue and rebasing franchising. Well, at the moment we have no revenue, so you can start start afresh, so to speak, and build that new model.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, there's some good, you know, there's good practice around to be that could be looked at and replicated elsewhere. I mean, you know, Cornwall are doing really interesting stuff on integrating their ticketing on the train and the bus. You know, Cornwall have got an interesting sort of demographic, because everybody lives in quite small places really in Cornwall, so buses are a really massive part of their public transport infrastructure really, and so, you know, because obviously the train isn't the answer in every circumstance, but what you need is to have a joined up network so that people can actually get from, you know, from where they want to go to where they want to be without having to sort of change onto sort of numerous types of transport or use their, or get into their cars to get to, the first port of call for the first bit of the journey and all that kind of thing. Because the more people have to do that, the more it puts them off using public transport in the first place.
So this is the start of our study and our research project. How do people get involved, Johannah?
Right, so the first way people can get involved is that they can fill in our survey, and you're going to send it out to our community. Yes, Liam?
Yeah.
And is it going to be available online as well?
We'll work it out. At the moment.
So they can initially be able to find it on our website. And presumably we'll do some social media posting about it as well, or just get in contact with us and we'll send it out to you.
Yep. And then we will, the eventual outcome will be on the website, Run Innovation Group.
And also we're going to have a Munch and Learn next week about this as well, aren't we?
We are indeed. Right. I must love you and leave you, so I have to stop this now.
Okay, take part.
I can do that.
And see you at Munch and Learn next week.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.